Alright guys, we're here at Blyton Park in the Supra. I mean, not my Supra, obviously, because that would completely void the warranty. Taking it on track a week after you got it. Definitely wouldn't do that. Somebody has lent me their Supra. And yeah, we're going to go do a track day. See what this thing is like. This is quite a small, tight circuit. And I am quite worried that the brakes are going to let this down quite a bit, because I've seen a lot of people in America doing track days in these, saying that the brake pads are pretty terrible stock. So I don't think this track is going to be great, because it's very harsh on the brakes as it is anyway. I have changed the brake fluid. I put some Motul RBF 660 in it, which has got a much higher boiling point than the stock fluid. So hopefully we won't have any issues with the pedal just going soft, but if the pads are just shit, then it's not going to be a fun time. But the main thing anyway is just trying to get used to the car. I'm not trying to set any lap times. I'm not a pro driver or whatever. I'm just trying to get used to the car and how it handles. It's a lot better to do that on the track than it is on the road. So let's go have a bit of fun. Hopefully we don't get black flagged for drifting too much, but we will start by turning traction control completely off. You have to hold the button for fucking ages to do that. And then we will turn the safety systems off, whatever that means. We'll turn them off as well. Sport mode, manual mode, and then we are off. Once I get my seatbelt on. I'm going to take it pretty easy on the first session. Obviously, just getting used to everything. Just kind of remember the layout of the track and get used to the car. Not going to push it at all. So don't expect any thrilling laps. Well, it always looks pretty slow and dull on camera anyway, to be honest. I don't really like doing track day videos, because once you've seen me do one lap, you've seen me do them all, do you know what I mean? It's not going to be that different, but I'm sure I'll get a bit better throughout the day, so hopefully these first few will just be a bit of a warm-up, and then it'll get slightly more spicy towards the end of the day. Definitely in sport mode here, because the steering feels really fucking light. I'm gonna get a little bit of temperature into the tyres to start with, because it is actually quite cold today, and even on the way here, just driving to the track, it was kind of sliding around a little bit. I wasn't really expecting. Also get some heat into the brakes. Although, like I say, I think they're going to be the downfall of this car on this track day until we get some better pads in. But okay, it's already starting to twitch a little bit there. Interesting. This guy letting us past? I guess he is. Thank you. Compared to when I was last here in the Cayman, I've got to say, as much as I like heel and toe and rev matching, it is kind of nice just being able to press a button and it changes gear instantly, because you can just focus on your line and everything else. But I'd still much rather have a manual. Whoa, it's a little bit wobbly. You might remember in my first video I mentioned that the steering's a little bit weird. I'm still feeling that. As like adjustable on the throttle as I was expecting from how it drives on the road. Then I'm not really caning it yet, so just trying to build up. Got a tiny wiggle there. It's got more grip than it feels like it has, and this is coming back to the whole thing I mentioned in my first video, just the steering not being really communicative. It's like you feel like it's about to understeer, but it just doesn't. You turn more and it just carries on. The steering just goes kind of light, as if it's understeering, but it's really not. It's really odd. Now there is a bit more in the brakes than I'm giving it credit for. It's really hard to unstick the back end as well. I'm trying to turn in quite aggressively on some of these, and it just goes. That was more understeer than oversteer, I think, that tyre squeal there. It is a fast car, like not just on the straights, but it is grippy. It's a lot grippier than I was expecting, to be honest.
You went that time, didn't it?
Yeah, but not as much as I wanted to.
Really?
Yeah. Right, so we just come in after that session. It's nearly lunchtime, so we'll probably just go get some food in a sec and then head back out in about an hour when lunchtime is over. Look at Phil's cool helmet with his Rebel Alliance sticker on. But yeah, so far so good. The brakes haven't been bad at all, to be honest. I've taken the engine bay cover off. As you can see, it looks like an absolute mess now. Also, Phil's come in his Supra, which he's just finished getting his 1.5 JZ single turbo done. I'll pop the hood in a sec and show you. Here's Phil's 1.5J with a big boy turbo. Big boy. And a manual gearbox conversion, which is a bit noisy, isn't it?
A little bit jarry.
A little bit noisy. But
It's the
yeah.
M3 box.
Look at it. Here's my hand for scale. It's huge.
Put a head for scale.
Yeah, put a head in it for scale. But yeah, it makes good noises because you got no blow off valve, haven't you? So it just goes.
All chatter.
Just get a good shot of the shiny exhaust manifold. Looks a little bit nicer than mine, doesn't it? Because it's gone all rainbowy. And his little external wastegate down here with his screamer pipe that is noisy AF. Yeah, it's all good fun. Anyway, let's go do some more track stuff. Right, we're going out for another session. We've done 2 so far, and we just dropped the front tyre pressures a little bit because we don't have a pump, so we couldn't pump up. Well, somebody lent me a pump, but it doesn't seem to work.
He does have another pump.
What?
He does have another pump.
He has another pump, so we might pump the rears up.
Next time out, we will tweak.
Next time out, we'll pump the rears up a bit. But at the moment, all I've done is drop the fronts a little bit, just by like 5 psi. Just to try and get it to be a bit more playful, give the front end more grip so the back end's a bit looser. Right, I'm not really in track driving mode now because we've been chilling out for a bit. The steering is still definitely a big gripe for me on this car. It's too light. Like, you turn into a corner and you're like, oh, it's starting to understeer. It's like, no, you're not at all. You can like turn way harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's got loads of grip still, but halfway around that corner, it felt like it was just going light, yeah. It's not the worst, like it's not Audi levels of shitness, but it's like, it's not the best for a driver's car. Definitely, the front's definitely made it more playful, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Unless it's just because the tyres are a bit colder now, but I don't know, they're still kind of warm.
Controllable.
Yeah, because it's not snapping back. That's the difference.
It was, yeah, it felt out of control last time. It felt like you were going to go off the track rather than sliding control.
Yeah, because it was just, I'm flooring it, trying to make it slide, but it's just trying to grip again. So like, I'm starting to counter steer as it's coming back, and you just end up with this snappy sort of mess. Whereas now that it actually stays sliding a bit, it's a lot easier. Yeah, we're not going to try and be a hero through that bit. Should we test the brakes? There's a bit of ABS there though. Oh, steady. Steady, old girl. Mr. Alpine.
Passenger criticism. It needs grab handles.
Oh, you've sliding around a bit.
Just holding the seat. I've got nothing.
All right, is there not like a thing over there?
Yeah, but it's like, it's a...
Oh, yeah, it's not recessed.
It's not a handle you can
Yeah.
hold. It's like a rock climbing grip.
A rock climbing grip.
I've got to go middle finger rock climb action. Just holding the bolsters. Nice.
Yeah, I'm realising now that the front end's got a little bit more grip, you can really turn in hard and it just rotates around. Mug a bit of curb. Still not sliding as much as I'd like.
Shit, that's my script.
Yeah, we're get track limits.
I feel you carrying the speed into that then. Felt way different than before.
Yeah, it's just...
Bottom moments. Certainly better than what I've experienced on flight.
It's a little weird. That was close, wasn't it?
Every time you're getting closer to that bollard.
I will say with these new springs, obviously I've not done a track day on the stock springs, but the new springs could definitely be a bit stiffer. Like, it still feels like it rolls quite a bit. Obviously you can play around with anti-roll bars and stuff to try and help change that, but the springs definitely don't feel particularly stiff. So we'll see how that goes once we change the ride height. I need to get this kind of balance a bit better, like it still understeers a bit on the way in. But I think that's more me rather than the car. I can be harsher on the brakes as well, like slow down faster than I thought there. Yeah, I can be way harsher on the brakes. This section here probably doesn't look fast on camera at all, but it's so unnerving that you feel like you're just going to wash out wide there. I need to look at the speedo actually and see what speed we're doing, but I reckon it's probably about 80 or 90 through there maybe? I don't know, it might end up being less than that, but it feels rapid. Right, we found a pump. Somebody very kindly lent me a compressor, and we've put about 7 or 8, I can't remember, 7 or 8 psi more in the rear tyres, and then obviously we've still got like 5 or 6 less in the front from before, so we'll see if it's a little bit more tail happy now and it can keep slides going a little bit better. Not that I'm like trying to drift the whole track or anything, but just to make it a bit more playful, a bit more fun. Well, it spun the wheels up setting off there, so that's that's a good sign for it being a little bit more slippy. But like I was saying before, the tyres are always a little bit slippy on these first like outlap. That was a cone in the middle of the track, good. I did see somebody doing a track video in this car said that the seats don't really hold you in very well, but I'm not finding that being an issue, to be honest. I know in the M4 when I went to Spa and did a track day in the M4 there, that was really bad for not being held in the seats. Both me and my passenger at the time were like just flying around all over the place, like we're both commenting on it. So yeah, that definitely is an issue in some cars, but I'm not finding it in this. They seem to hold me in pretty well. Actually, it feels more grippy there than it did before, which is weird. Ooh, I think we hit the cone. You're trying a bit too hard when you hit the cones. Brake a bit early because I don't want to crash into the back of this nice Abarth. Thank you, Mr. Abarth man. Sketchy. Can't believe I didn't slide there. What the fuck? And there, what the hell? It's just understeering now. That's weird. It's really odd. It's got less playful. I don't know why I'm changing gear like mid-corner now. So thing with an auto. I guess you just get used to being able to change gear wherever you want. Yeah, mugging that curb is not great. Let's try and slide around here. No, doesn't really want to know. It's just this bit that's good for sliding, really. It's because you load it up all the way through here and then just lift off. Turn in, and it does that. Kind of disappointing that that wasn't more slippery, to be honest. Could maybe pump the... well, actually, I might lower the front some more, because it's the front that's the problem. We're just getting a bit of understeer, like on the way in. Like, and I'm slamming on the brakes as well to try and make the front grip. Like, I don't know, in past experience, if you sort of trail brake into a corner, like hard on the brakes and then trail brake into the corner as you turn in, that sort of puts a lot of weight on the nose and helps the rear to rotate, but it's not really happening in this. Like, when I really try and do that, when I aggressively try and do that, it just understeers. So, yeah, maybe we'll just drop a few more PSI at the front so we can get a bit more grip. Better, but I feel like that's just because this is the first lap and the tyres are going to get warm and sticky again. I used to have the opposite problem in the R8. They would be really grippy for the first like 3 laps and then they would go off and get pretty slippery, which is kind of good. I like that because you start out doing a few sort of grip laps, try and go as fast as you could, and then, like, you know, 3 laps later you could just slide around and have fun. This seems to kind of have the opposite problem. You get like 1 lap of them being a bit slippy, and then it's just grip all the way. This corner, I still have no idea what line to take. Oh, hello. That's the problem when you try and catch a slide that doesn't slide. You end up making it worse. Why did I change down a gear there? What am I doing? I don't know. The problem is, I only enjoy track days because I can do that. Like, I don't really enjoy just driving faster on a track. I should do. It's got all the ingredients for me to enjoy it. For some reason, it just doesn't really do a lot for me. I just enjoy the sliding around. And most tracks frown upon that. And also, you can only do like one sort of short slide and then it straightens back up again. It's like, I'd much rather just be at a drift day. But there's something fun about just doing skids at a track day. I guess just because no one else is doing it, really. I think everyone kind of thinks you're a bit of a hero if you get sideways for like a split second on a track day. It's so messy, that. But yeah, on a drift day, obviously this is like nothing. These are like very, very minor skids. But for a track day, no one else really... Well, some people do. I shouldn't say no one else. This car's taking the abuse, though, I've got to say. Like, I'm just slamming on the brakes, I'm flat out in every gear for like lap after lap. And it doesn't really feel any different towards the end of like 5 or 6 laps as it does towards the start. Like I keep saying, a lot of people complain about the brakes, but I've not had any issues at all yet. Maybe I'm just not pressing them hard enough. Woo! That felt a bit sketchy. That'll do. I feel like I'm the only one on track at the moment. I haven't seen another car for that whole session. To be fair, it's like 20 to 4. A lot of people are starting to go home. Alright, I can't be asked to plug the microphone in, so hopefully you can hear me. We're going out for the very last session. We've got like 10 minutes of the day left. As you can see, the car is complaining because I lowered the tyre pressure slightly. If you go to the menu, we're on 29 psi, and apparently that is bad, even though most cars run at like 29, 30 psi. So yeah, it keeps popping up as I'm going around the track saying like roadside assistance required. I'm like, fuck off, it's fine. But yeah, let's do the dance of turning everything off. Scratch the wheel. Alright, so it's now the day after the track day footage that you just saw. I thought I'd just kind of give my overall summary of how I felt the car was on track, especially now I've had a little bit of time to think about it and look at some of the footage and stuff, think about how the car was actually behaving, rather than just my initial kind of gut reactions to stuff. So, I guess first thing is just the fact that the car is absolutely fine. Do you know what I mean? There was no issues on track, it didn't overheat, there was no problems with the brakes. Brakes still feel fine today, there's no juddering or any warping or anything like that. Everything's good, there's no warnings or anything, apart from it's complaining that my tyre pressures are a bit low, because obviously we dropped 2 psi below the limit. But yeah, overall, I think it's a good car on track. I was expecting it to get a bit, like I said, just a bit battered by the track, really. The Cayman, when I had that on track, that felt right at home. And I figured that's because it's it's a Porsche. It's kind of a bit of a track toy, bit of a road car. All right, it's more road car. Don't get me wrong, but it felt like it was perfectly at home on the track. There was no issues or whatever, and it just felt comfortable there. This I was thinking was going to be a bit more towards the road car side of things, where it kind of struggles on track. But it was actually really good. Like I did mention in one of the clips that I think you've seen, The springs, the HKS springs, I thought they'd be stiffer, to be honest. Like, it just felt like stock suspension, which is a good thing and a bad thing, depending on what you want. Like, if you want a real, like, stiff, flat track car, then yeah, they're maybe not going to be what you're after. But if you want suspension that's just as comfortable as the stock suspension, but where you can adjust the ride height, then they're perfect for that. So for me, I think they'll probably be fine. I might move to like something else in the future, but for now they'll definitely be fine. They didn't feel bad on track, they just didn't feel amazing either, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think they're kind of a good all-around compromise that just lets you adjust the ride height. So the brakes, I mentioned in the video that they weren't a problem either. A lot of people on other videos and other forums and things that I've seen have said that the brakes really let this car down on track. I didn't have any problems at all. Maybe that's because I changed the fluid. Maybe I'm just not staying out for as long during sessions as some of the other people on other tracks. Maybe the other tracks that other people are doing are harder on the brakes. Although this track that we were at yesterday is kind of known for being really bad for brakes, so yeah, I wouldn't have thought it gets much worse than that, but I don't know. Alright, so let's get on to the handling stuff, because this is kind of where I'm not sure if I liked it, I'm not sure if I didn't like it. Obviously, we ended up dropping pressure at the front, adding pressure to the rear to make it a bit more playful. And that's kind of how I wish it had come like from the factory in terms of that sort of balance. Maybe they wouldn't do it with tyre pressures, obviously, but you know what I mean, that sort of balance where it's just a little bit more playful. It still wasn't like super playful though, like you still had to really try to get it to slide around. And there were some times, I don't know if I'll have included the clips, but there were some times where I just turned in, tried to make it slide, and it just understeered. Not very often, but even on the times where it did slide nicely, it would often start with a bit of understeer. Now, I don't know if I'm just doing something wrong, like maybe I'm just driving wrong, but I mean, like I've done enough track days in enough cars and done loads of drifting. Like, I feel like I should know how to sort of get a car sideways, but this just kind of didn't want to know a lot of the time. Well, that's not fair. Not that it didn't want to know, but just it was harder than it felt like it should be. And the tyres and everything just felt like they wanted to grip. Like, before we did the pressures especially, it would just, even if you're mashing the throttle to the floor in like third gear, it would just grip straight back up again. So yeah, that was kind of weird, because when you first turn in on the road and on track, you first turn in, it feels like it's going to be really playful. It's got like a slight sort of feeling of rotation, more so than any other car I've ever had, I think. You turn and you're like, oh, it feels like you can rotate, especially when you get back on throttle. It feels like it sort of snaps around a bit. Not really drifts or anything, but just pivots nicely. So I was expecting when you got it on the track and you got it all loaded up and you're at higher speed and everything, it would be like really playful, but it kind of wasn't. The thing is, this is like a weird criticism, because most people don't want to drift it, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what 99% of people who buy this car or any car are going to be thinking is, oh, how well will it slide when I want to drift it at a track days, you know what I mean? Most people won't take it to the track, even then they won't try and drift it, or if they do, they'll just do they'll be perfectly happy with the little tiny slides that I was getting to start with, I guess. But yeah, for actually trying to slide it around properly, again, I'm not trying to drift the track or anything, I'm not trying to do proper drifts, I just want to get a nice slide going. Like a controllable slide that stops when you want it to stop, rather than just straightening up again on its own kind of thing. Yeah, for that, it wasn't quite what I would like, but it's close enough, do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, it's nowhere near what I want, I'm just going to get rid of it. It's like, put a little bit more pressure in the back next time, but a little bit less in the front next time, and it'll probably be just as sort of playful as I want it to be. But yeah, the fact that you have to do that, I wasn't really expecting that, given how playful it feels like it's gonna be when you first turn in and when you first play around with it. But anyway, drifting stuff aside, in terms of actual like grip driving, it felt really grippy. Like, one of the people that I took out for a passenger lap as well, he was saying like it grips like really hard through the fast S section. That fast S section, by the way, I mentioned in the video, I think we're doing about 80 or 90 miles an hour. I did look down at the speedo coming out of that at one point, and it was about 91 mile an hour, so that was a pretty good guess. But it looks slow as shit on camera. Like, it's such a shame. You feel like you're properly storming it on the track, then you watch GoPro footage back and you're like, it looks like I'm just out for a Sunday drive at like 50 mile an hour. It's always disappointing, but yeah, and that gives you some kind of sense of like scale of speed, I guess. It was, yeah, that section was about 90. I have no idea what speed we're doing for the rest of the track. Didn't really have time to look. But yeah, overall, I think for a grip car, it's pretty good. It doesn't understeer loads. Like I say, I was been really aggressive with it, trying to make it slide, and that's when I was getting understeer. But for normal track driving, it's pretty well balanced. It feels good on track. It doesn't feel out of its depth or anything. So it would make a good track car, I think. Obviously, I'm not saying, like, it definitely will be an amazing track car. I've done one track day in it. I've only done 600 miles in the car in total. This is not me saying it's absolutely the best track car, go and buy one and make it a track car, but initial impressions are it seems like a capable and decent track car. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Overall impressions are good. I definitely had a lot of fun. It was a great day yesterday. A lot more fun than in the Cayman. I don't know if I ever even put up the video of me doing the track day in the Cayman, because it was just so dull, really. Like, not as in I didn't have any fun on the track, but just to watch it back, it was so dull because it didn't slide at all. So it's just me driving around. It was that same track as well, and that track is probably the least interesting to watch on camera as well, if you're not sliding around. So yeah, I didn't even bother putting that video up, I don't think. So yeah, that'll do for this video. I'm sorry if it's been pretty long. Like I said at the start, track videos I feel like can be pretty boring because it's just lap after lap, especially on a short circuit like that, just seeing the same thing over and over again. But that's probably how you feel about drift day videos. I think when I watch my drifting videos, or when I'm editing them, I'm like, I can tell the difference between every single run, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, that one I got a little bit closer to that wall or whatever, that one I got a little bit more angle, that one I had a nicer line. But I'm sure for a lot of people watching, they all look the same. So yeah, that's kind of how I am with track day, like grip day videos. So yeah, hopefully somebody enjoyed watching this one. It's probably been pretty long, so I'll shut up now, and whatever comes next, which will probably be the next round of BDC, and then some mods to this. I'm starting making the downpipe for this very soon. So yeah, one of those will be next. Whichever it is, I'll see you there.